Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Now this is the kind of sports talk, debate, fandom type of stuff that I can really get into that we can have a lot of fun with. This isn't always about the Hatelens and the Slows and the racial nonsense and the jealousy and the pettiness all directed at Caitlin Clark. Is it related to Caitlin Clark? Absolutely. But this is the type of stuff that gets talked about all the time in other fandoms. Okay. And we are going to talk about Stephanie White. And just to give you an idea, I mean, I'm seeing this right now with Eagles fans and our coach, Nick Sirianni. There is a very, very, very divisive split between those that are like, we're winning despite Nick. He is an idiot. He's the reason the offense was terrible last year. He's got to go yesterday. And then other fans are like, well, but we won a Super Bowl with Nick. Nick's the head coach when we've been doing all this winning. It's got to be Nick. We got to keep Nick. How can you say get rid of Nick? Now, I think there's a little bit of an extra spiciness to it because of Caitlin Clark being involved, because of there are a lot of fans, to be fair, of Caitlin Clark who are relatively new to being sports fans or at least being basketball fans. And so this type of thing is new to them. So then you get that extra element in terms of their reaction to what those of us who grew up as sports fans are like, yeah, it's pretty normal, tame stuff. What are y'all yapping about? But anyway, let's talk about this. Support pours in for Fever coach Stephanie White amid backlash. Indiana Fever fans are rallying behind Coach Stephanie White after some intense criticism. Now, what's kind of funny about this headline, the way it's written, is they make it sound like the Fever fandom, they're having their kumbaya moment, right? They've all united to defend their coach. Uh, well, the backlash, the intense criticism, that's coming from Caitlin Clark fans, and I'm not saying I necessarily disagree. That doesn't mean I hate Stephanie White. That doesn't mean any of you fans that love Stephanie White need to unsubscribe because I think here's my thing with Stephanie White. Just kind of in general, the overview, the top thing is I think she is an average, solid WNBA coach. That's not enough. Not for this team, not for Caitlin Clark. We're trying to elevate the WNBA into a different stratosphere, into a different level in terms of how it is looked at from the outside as a professional sports league. That means changes need to be made. Now, that's has, without Caitlin Clark. You add in Caitlin Clark, the way Stephanie White has used her, the things Stephanie White has said about how she wants to use her, the things Caitlin Clark has said about what Stephanie White has said to her about how she's using her and how that has changed Caitlin Clark's game. And then I say, yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. If you want to see the Caitlin Clark, if you want to see Caitlin Clark be 100% herself and elevate the play of the league and all that entertaining stuff that we talk about with watching her play and the logo threes and the great passing and all that, if you want her to reach her potential as a basketball player, in my opinion, my informed opinion from everything I've seen and analyzed, Stephanie White is not the coach to do that. Stephanie White, with her philosophy, and you can look, it's guessing to say whether Stephanie White likes or dislikes Caitlin Clark or anything. I don't think she does like Caitlin Clark, but setting that aside and just looking at it from a basketball perspective and what Stephanie White wants to do and her philosophy and how she wants to use Caitlin Clark, it doesn't go with Caitlin Clark, right? One of the biggest examples, I think, because it's probably the most well known, is again Magic Johnson and his coach and not wanting to use Magic the way Magic wanted to play and this and that. And it came to a battle, right? Player versus coach. Ownership sided with the player. The rest is kind of history, considering Magic Johnson led the Lakers to 5 NBA championships. And I'm gonna even back way up, okay? I'm gonna go out there and say, let's say Stephanie White is a great coach. Sometimes when you have a franchise built around a specific player, it's just not a good fit. Doesn't mean the coach isn't a good coach. It doesn't mean the player is a problem and isn't a good player. It just means They don't go together because of differences in philosophy or play style or whatever the case may be. And that is what we have here. Stephanie White is not the coach for Caitlin Clark. It doesn't even mean that they can't win a title with Stephanie White coaching. I'm just saying the Caitlin Clark you're going to see is not the Caitlin Clark that everyone has come to know and love and wants to see. So anyway, let's dig it. I probably just did the whole video, but we're going to go through this a little bit anyway and get into what it is that we're talking about. And this all came from a poll, basically. As you all know, White was down there in Puerto Rico with the USA team. She's one of the assistant coaches, and it's kind of funny, just like that headline, like the article says here. White is an assistant for USA basketball as part of head coach Carol Lawson's staff, while White helped mastermind Team USA's unblemished 5-0 record in the qualifiers as they head into the World Cup. See, I love this type of stuff. Like for me personally, I just like reading the way things are written, the word choices and all that. I love so like obviously from the headline from this is a pro Stephanie White article. Team USA, by far the best team there, blew out all five teams. There was no need to you didn't help mastermind anything because there was no need to mastermind anything. You just put any five players out on the court and you're gonna win. I'm just saying. So anyway, what we get down to is despite their success, more than a few fans are not happy with White's performance as head coach. There's a significant number of Indiana supporters who see her as a problem, finally acknowledging it's Indiana fans, and want her out heading into the new season. Right? I knew here's a post on X. I knew I wasn't alone on this. The majority of the Fever fan base can see the obvious. Coach White is the problem. To be fair, it's her asking with Kelly and Amber. I wish the ownership team would recognize the problem. These ladies are hurting, not helping Cece and the Fever Squad. And what it is the poll, and it gave four choices. Kelsey needs to go ASAP. Kelsey needs to stay. Kelsey is not the problem. It's Stephanie White. And don't know. I'm undecided. 57%. At those four choices, 57% said Kelsey is not the problem. It's Stephanie White. She has to go. So they're all now. Granted, this is only. Let me see if I have the number here. I think I might have the number. No, oh no, it doesn't have it because this is actually a screenshot of a previous post. I was just curious how many people actually voted. I don't know. It was done by Courtside Media, so I'm guessing more than if say someone like myself had done it, but 57%, you got four choices. 57% selected that. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of fans who are like, I don't know that Stephanie White is the right coach for Caitlin Clark. And that is so important to understand that it's not even so much about, Stephanie White's a terrible coach or, oh, I hate Stephanie White. It's that she doesn't fit with Caitlin Clark. And that is just the reality of what happens sometimes with coaches and franchise players, philosophically, personality wise, the type of offense, defense, whatever it might be, they just don't mesh. That doesn't mean either one is less than. It just means that they're not a good fit together. That is simply the way that it is. But Athlon, as they were doing, they've got the pro Stephanie White Fever fans in here too. We've got one tweet put out. Can't imagine coaching a team that lost half its players to injury, including your biggest star player, winning a Commissioner's Cup and getting within an inch of the finals, only to be called the problem. Again, I think a lot of people, and for what I'm seeing with this, are I don't know if it's purposely or what, but they're missing the fact that this is more about specifically Stephanie White as the coach for Caitlin Clark than Stephanie White as a coach in general. And it matters when you're a star player, you're a superstar, you're franchise cornerstone that's going to be around for another decade. They need to fit with the coach. That's just like that's the bottom line, which someone kind of gets to in this next one. Says I get people not liking her style of offense or not thinking Cece is a good fit. I don't see how you frame her as a bad coach, though. But again, I think a lot of people are saying that in the context of coaching Caitlin Clark. Okay, which a lot of people I think should understand, not necessarily that they do. And then here we get a little more into attacking those of us that don't want Stephanie White coaching Caitlin. That's the problem of a larger percentage of the Fever fan base. It's sad. They just take turns to blame other teammates, blame coaches, etc. It's not healthy. being a fan should not only be when your team is winning or your fave is winning. It's staying 100% regardless. It isn't. And again, this goes back to that extra that I say when we get into the situation. A lot of people that brought Caitlin Clark into sports brought Caitlin Clark into, not just women's basketball, but sports in general. And so they don't have that same perspective of lifelong sports fans and what they go through within their own fan base, with interacting with other fan bases, with the media and this and that. And well, this is a rough day. I might be repeating myself because I wanted to talk about this, and I honestly can't remember if I did at the beginning, but we're seeing this in Philly. We've got Nick Sirianni. Half the fan base wants him gone. They think he's the reason the offense was bad this year. They don't like the way he coaches. They think he's the Eagles have been so talented. They've been winning in spite of Nick Sirianni. And then we've got the other people who are like, Nick Sirianni, the winningest coach in Eagles history. Nick Sirianni won a Super Bowl. He's taken us to two Super Bowls. How can you blame Nick Sirianni? Like, and that's normal. I mean, we see it with our quarterback. We're seeing it with our running back. We're seeing it right now with our star wide receiver, AJ Brown. Where a lot of people are like, I'm sick of his antics. I'm sick of his nonsense. Please trade him. You can't trade him fast enough. And the rest of us are like, but we have a star wide receiver. What do you mean trade him? It's ridiculous. And so that part is normal. So this to again, I've said this in the past where I don't like when fans tell other fans how to fan, which is what this one is doing. It's perfectly fine if a lot of people want Stephanie White to go, and it's perfectly fine if those don't. But you got to have reasons for it. Don't just be all up in your feels either way. Like this one. This one kind of irked me a little bit. Everybody mad because of playing CC off ball and taking the ball out of her hands. But if you were the coach and you know she's injured, that's the call you have to make. She was just trying to protect CC. Now that's ridiculous. That's nonsense. That's gibberish. Again, I've done other videos on it. I've done videos of Caitlin talking about Stephanie White pulling her out of a game after a pass she made, telling her she doesn't want her making those passes, right? All those passes you love, those highlight passes from Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White does not want her throwing those. Caitlin Clark herself has said it. Caitlin Clark has said she has not thrown some and that she was proud of herself for not throwing them because the coach is trying to limit the type of player that she is, which man, we got to get past that, but that's a whole nother issue. You're not protecting your star point guard by having them play off the ball and set picks. That's absurd. If she's that injured, then you're sitting her. She shouldn't be playing at all. This again goes to a philosophical difference in how she plays Caitlin Clark versus what Caitlin Clark could do. Has nothing to do with playing her off ball because of injuries. And it also has nothing to do with, I mean, playing her off ball is a little bit part of the philosophy, but it's not specifically that. It's the whole thing. It's insane calling SW a bad coach is just factually untrue. That's a great sentence. It's insane. Calling SW a bad coach is just factually untrue. You can like her, just like her style of play, but that's different than judging her skills as a coach. I'm not even sure that she's totally wrong about how she wants the team to play. Oh, she's 100% wrong. And again, Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt, absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. 14 and 16, 7 and 24, 7 and 23, 14 and 16, 4 and 4 before the season was canceled because of the bug. That's the only place where she's been more than 2 years where when she went to Connecticut and when she came to Indy, she inherited good teams. She inherited playoff teams. Okay. Vanderbilt is the only place where she was there long enough where you could say this is her team. So yeah, man. So it's going to be interesting. I'm very very curious to see how it goes, how quickly Stephanie White is under fire versus say Christy Sides and how she handled things and how she adjusted and let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Appreciate you being here as always. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, go up the day you deserve. Shout out to the 19. I'll talk to you all later.